Hey, Tanner James, DJ TJ. We are back with the Peak Period Podcast, episode 11. It's crazy. If you're just tuning in for the first time, go ahead, go back, check out the last podcasts. There is so much knowledge and information and tips that will help you grow your business, help you be better at business, have better client satisfaction, have better events, that kind of thing. There's so much information that will help you. Like, I'm learning some stuff out of it. And that's kind of the crazy part. I remember we did the podcast with DJ Lunatico, and he talked about using Google Drive as a backup for future weddings, and I'm like, that's so true. That's such a good idea. I'm totally going to do that. So I started implementing it, and I absolutely love it. So, I mean, the knowledge and the information that is dropped in this podcast is absolutely unbelievable. I'm looking to get some more guests on the podcast because I think that's where it's really, really helpful. I can give you a lot of information, but when we can brainstorm and bring someone else on who has some different experience, that kind of thing, it does definitely help a lot. So if you haven't checked out the last podcast, go ahead, go back there. Make sure you subscribe wherever you are listening to this podcast. So if you're on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. If you're on iTunes, subscribe there. If you're on the website, just make sure you check it every single Thursday. We're back every single Thursday. So, and also on my DJ TJ Training Instagram, it's DJ TJ Training. It's the Instagram. I am dropping out a video a day on helping DJs. So I'm taking some videos that I did, I'm cutting them into 1-minute segments so that you can just get the best information in 1 minute. And this stuff will help you that day, right? I mean, I'm going to tell you a tip and you can implement it that day and close a gig coming up that day. So make sure that you are on there. Today we are going to talk about some client requests because I think we as DJs automatically think that maybe not that the client's wrong, but that the client isn't always right. And I think that sometimes can hurt us. And I don't think all of client requests are bad. I know the whole DJ thinking that they're not all great, and I'm with you, right? I think we've all had those clients that kind of ask something and they don't mean it in a bad way, but we're like, yeah, that's not smart. I had an event a while back, and they wanted to put the dance floor right by the door when people walked in. And I'm not against it being close to the door, but it was they walk over the dance floor, and they walk in and my back is to the door, and I'm right next to the door. I'm 2 feet away from the door, where it was just going to be bad. And so what I ended up doing is I helped them, and I said, well, you know what, I think, from my experience, what I've learned, this really works well. And they're like, okay, awesome. And then they changed it. They changed the floor plan, and everything worked out. So sometimes, altogether, us as DJs, we've done this, right? We've done tens of any type of event, right? We've done hundreds of events. I think I'm up over in the hundreds now. And, we automatically think that everybody thinks like us, right? I was listening to this book, and it's called The Art of Explanation. And basically it goes over how to explain things, right? So when we explain things to people, we have this problem, and it's called the curse of knowledge. Okay, the curse of knowledge. And what it means is we know something, and so when we try to explain it to somebody else, we may miss parts that we assume they know that they don't know. So there are some basic things for DJs like BPMs that the everyday person doesn't know about. So we go in talking about BPMs, they're already lost. So I'll give you an example of where this happened. I was at a school meeting. I was going and pitching to the students, and I started talking about BPMs, and then I had to stop myself and say, do they know what a BPM is? Right? I'm saying there's 3 different types of BPMs, right? There's 70, there's 100, and 128. Now the 128, and then I have to stop and think, they don't know about that. I was talking about how you can't just, if you get a request in the 70 BPM, but you're in 100, you can't just go right to it. It just doesn't work. So you have to work your way over. And I was saying, there's 3 types of BPM. There's 70, 100, and 128. And so I can't just always switch. Well, they don't know what that means. And I just blurted out three numbers and they're like 70, 100, 120. What is he talking about? So I had to stop and say, okay, let me go back. Sorry. BPM is beats per minute, right? It's the speed of the song. It's the tempo of the song. So, you know, the faster songs and, you know, the slower songs. And I think I threw out like a connection point and I said, you know, like Future would be the 70 BPM kind of stuff. And the EDM stuff, that's all 128. And so then they have they put the connection to it and they put it together. Well, the curse of knowledge is just that. I'm talking about BPMs. They don't know what that is. That's the curse of knowledge. I'm talking to them. I'm telling them something that that is basic in our industry, in our world, but isn't basic to them. And that's really important. So we have the curse of knowledge as DJs of experience, right? We know about events. We know how to make successful events. We know the successful timelines, and our clients don't necessarily have the same knowledge that we have, right? You know, I had a wedding and they wanted to do the mother-son before the father-daughter dance. And that was in their timeline. They did not have a wedding planner, so that probably makes sense why. And, you know, the traditional wedding is father-daughter, then it goes into mother-son. And so, you know, I had to go to them and say, hey, you know, I saw this, you know, if you want to do it like this, we totally can. I just wanted to let you guys know that this isn't traditional. I didn't know if he did it on purpose or if you didn't know. So, you know, if you want to keep it this way, we totally can. I just wanted to let you know. And they're like, OMG, we're so sorry. We had no clue. I'm like, well, you don't have to be sorry. You know, like, we didn't mess anything up, right? Like, it's not like we had the event and then we figured this out. And so, you know, they just didn't know. And so their request would be, hey, we'd like this timeline. And then I'm like, oh, they want to do this weird thing. The truth is that maybe they just don't know, right? We know that this is how a typical timeline goes. They don't know. So we have to step in and do it in a nice, respectful way and say, hey, I see that you're doing this. If you want to do that, totally fine. But it's not traditional. And, you know, a lot of people want to do non-traditional things to be different, to not be the same. And there are sometimes, like I had a wedding and they want to do a combined mother-son, father-daughter dance. They said, we don't really have the same relationship as typical, like, you know, mothers and sons and fathers and daughters, but we just like to do it like this and we want it to be like quick. And they're like, we know it's untraditional, but that's what we want to do because, you know, it was some other stuff. And I said, okay, awesome. You know, we'll do it. So client requests are not all, they're not inherently bad. And I think as DJs, that's what we think is like, oh, well, they have, you know, 20 song requests. They have X, Y, and Z. Now, I get it that there are some bad times, but sometimes the requests that the client has can be extremely, extremely, extremely helpful. And you know, it's kind of tricky because we don't necessarily know. Here's the thing. I think of song requests, right? And as DJs, we're kind of trained to not like them. I don't necessarily dislike them. I think some DJs have some kind of ego thing going on where they're like, oh, well, you know, I don't, like, I don't even know how to say it, but like, well, you know, I'm not a jukebox, and if they wanted a jukebox, then they can go get a jukebox. Like, I get it, but I think DJs just want to make themselves feel better and have power. And I think the truth is that, look, who's going to pay you? If you're going to be paid to, like, if somebody's willing to pay you for you to play a playlist, why would you not do it? Shoot, I'd do it. I mean, come on. Get paid a solid amount of money to play songs in an order? Oh, okay, deal. I'll do it. So I think what happens is DJs just want to kind of have control, and I think that's where it starts going downhill. And I don't think requests are bad. Look, you can request songs. I don't have a problem with it. I get that it can sometimes be annoying when they're requesting the wrong song at the wrong time. Here's the thing about requests, though, that I found, and this, a lot of DJs won't say it, but I know for a fact that all seasoned DJs, I mean, you've been doing this for probably 2 years. I'm sure DJs who have been DJing for at least 2 years totally understand this. And they can relate. And if they can't relate, they're lying. Okay? Guaranteed. where you are playing, music and the crowd's liking it, and somebody comes up and requests a song, and inside, you tell them, oh yeah, let me see if I can get to it. Inside, you're thinking, there's no way that would work. Absolutely no way that would work ever. Not that, I mean, that song is just not going to work. Well, then they would come up and request it again, and they come up and request it again and again, and you're finally like, okay, I just want to get this person away from me. I want them to not be like, I don't want to deal with them anymore, so I'll play their song just to get it over with, right? I think we all know this experience. And if you're in a club, you kind of have like the security thing where you could be like, oh, security, but I think we've all been in that situation where the person just keeps coming up and requesting. You're fine, I'll just play your stupid song, right? Well, you play the song and it goes off, and the whole entire crowd loves it, and everyone who's sitting down gets up and starts dancing, and there are the people, crowd surfing. Like I because I've had this many times, and where and any logical DJ who knows how to read a crowd would not see that song to play. I think that's the other part of it. You are right that song shouldn't work. You're like, well, why would that song work? But when you play it, it goes crazy and everybody loves it, and then it's like, okay, why did I not? Here's the thing. People requesting songs are not all bad. I think sometimes as DJs we overlook songs as well. I was at a party, and the DJ, it was some super beginner DJ. Probably he's been doing it like 2 months max. And so I went up, and like he was like playing music off Spotify or something. I don't even think he had a mixer, but he had like a couple speakers or whatever. And so I said, hey, what song would be good? Is All I Do Is Win, right? Because I'm a DJ, I know that song goes. He probably doesn't know because he thinks that's an old song that doesn't go anymore. And so I told it to him, and he's like, yeah. Well, he never played it, but I know the crowd, and I know what they would want to hear. And so this DJ, obviously didn't know, but that's probably why that DJ is, not doing big stuff. Because sometimes you need to be open to suggestions, and you need to be open to what people have to say. Here's the thing. Look, as DJs, we're artists, right? I mean, we are. We have the artist part to us. And I think artists don't like to be told what to do. I think that's the main thing. And I think that's kind of where it comes from. I don't want to be a jukebox because I don't want to be told what to do, because I'm an artist and artists are supposed to do their own thing. I get that. But if you want to actually make money and do this, then you need to follow rules and accept what other people say and accept what your boss says, and do that kind of thing. And I think if you're listening to this podcast, you realize that you don't necessarily want to be the artist, you want to be the business. And I'm not saying you can't be the artist and business. I think when you put the two together, that's when you become unstoppable. That's what I did. I love the music. I absolutely love it. I'm an awesome DJ. I know I'm an awesome DJ. And I say that humbly. I'm probably one of the most humble people you will ever meet in your whole entire life, but I know I'm a good DJ. And so with that, I know I'm a good DJ, and once you put the business side to it, that's where you can actually start growing and going big and actually making good money and actually doing a lot of events and going big. But if you're just a good artist, you can only get so far. You have to be the good salesman and actually sell your services and actually follow through and be and operate a good, clean business, that kind of thing. And so with that, I think a lot of DJs are the artists, and they're kind of like, well, I don't want to be told what to do. And, that's all cool until you want to start making money at it. And then, the DJs complain about not making money. Like, this is the thing. Look, it's a circle, right? I have this for schools. I go in and I have this circular diagram, right? And if you want to know more about the circular diagram, send me an email or a DM on Instagram, and I'll share it with you. But I don't want to put it on here. So just send me an email, info@djtjtraining.com, and I'll tell you about it. So it's a circle, right? And it's like an arrow to an arrow to an arrow to an arrow. And here's the thing with DJs. DJs don't make a lot of money, right? And they don't make a lot of money, so they're kind of bitter about it. Well, they're bitter about it because they don't make a lot of money, but because they're bitter about it, they then don't want to take requests from people and they don't want to be told what to do, which then allows them to not make a lot of money, right? So it's just a circle. If you can picture a 1, 2, 3, and it just goes in a rotation, right? They don't make a lot of money. They are then bitter about that. And because they're bitter about it, because they're not like happy with all the money that they're making, they then don't take requests from people. And here's the thing, you need to switch that up. So let's say you took requests from people, you can then make more money and then you're happier, right? So now that you're happier, you're more likely to take a request. And because you're more likely to take a request, you're gonna make more money. Look, it goes in a circle and you can't just make more money. And if you want to be happier, you have to do something, and that's taking the request. Look, requests are not bad. You know, I did a school dance and and the principal came up to me, and I mean, this was a Hispanic, mostly demographics. There were some white people, but it was more Hispanic. And the principal came up to me and said, "Hey, play Shut Up and Dance." And I'm like, why? Because you want to hear Shut Up and Dance? I'm like, I don't know about that one. And he's like, play it. I'm like, okay, I'll see if I can get to it. He comes up later, probably 10 minutes later. He's like, play Shut Up and Dance. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll play it. Play it. Crowd goes absolutely insane. And I'm looking at him and I'm like in shock. Like, what? Right? And so that same experience, I mean, that experience has happened to me so many times, but that was the one. And I was like, holy crap, what in the world? Like, and so it kind of like humbles you, and you're like, shoot, maybe I don't know everything, you know? Maybe there is more to learn. And so that's why when there are requests, it's not a bad thing. Requests can give you an insight to what the crowd wants. And I think that's one of the biggest and most important pieces of the whole request thing is you're playing, you know, whatever genre of music, and you get a request for this one, and so it's kind of overlaps, but you wouldn't just generally play it. So then you play that one song, and it goes crazy, and then the crowd loves it. So now you have a bigger library, right, to hit on, a bigger genre to start playing music from. So requests are not bad. I know that it's kind of like like when you pass DJ school, you're like, oh yeah, I don't like requests, but I think that's coming from a really artist standpoint and the egotistical standpoint. I think if you really want to start growing and going big, you have to be able to take direction from people, and you have to be able to listen to what other people say. And, you know, I know that not all requests are good. Trust me, I know. I mean, I'm not saying that you need to take every single request that's ever given to you. I'm totally with you. I mean, requests are not like, you know, always perfect. But I think sometimes we overlook some songs because we think that they're not right. And I think that's a mistake that we have. I think that, you know, some songs can be huge hits, and some requests from clients can be huge hits. And, you know, I think it can just be amazing. And so I think one of the things with that is I just think that DJs almost go into things like know-it-alls. And it's like, yeah, well, I've done this 40 times. I've done this wedding 40 times. I've done weddings, you know, however many times. I've done 75 events. I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. And I think the truth, or I've been doing this 10 years. I know what I'm doing. That's not necessarily true. I mean, I know where you're coming from, but you can't necessarily say that, like, for real, because, you know, things change, and just because you've been doing it doesn't mean you know about it. I mean, it's kind of like the whole correlation is not causation, right? Just because they're correlated doesn't mean they're connected. Just because you have a lot of experience doesn't mean that you're a good DJ, right? Let's look at the DJs that we see on YouTube that, like, yeah, just because you've been doing this 20 years doesn't mean you're a good DJ, right? I think we all know those DJs in our area that it's like, yeah, you advertise 25 years in service, 20 years in service, but that doesn't mean anything. Come on. I mean, we both know that that's like, okay, but we associate experience with good knowledge and good experience, right? Experience is not necessarily experience. And that's why I've been able to come in and gain huge market share in the DJ industry in my area, because I know that experience is not necessarily good experience. And I know that there are other ways to convince a client to book you. And I know that I offer a premium service, so I'm not doing anything like, unethical. And I know that I'm the right choice for them. So, what's wrong with it, right? Yeah, DJ who's been doing it, 15 years loses out on some work, but I'm the better choice. I'm going to make their event better for them. So that's not necessarily bad, right? And it, okay, if you're listening to this podcast and you've been doing this for 15 years and you're like, one of two things. One, no, I know what I'm doing. I have the good experience. And you really do. You genuinely have good experience. You need to sell yourself better. You need to build upon that experience. And there's a few things you can do. I talk about it all in my training program. And I separated the sales course. So if you want to jump on the sales course, I go over everything that you need to know about selling your services. I'll drop the link, djtjacademy.com/sales. djtjacademy.com/sales. You need to build upon your experience, and you need to show them how great you are and why you are the best and the only option for them in their event. And if you don't know how to do that, you're going to suffer, right? I mean, if you can't sell your services, you don't have a business. And that's just the honest truth. And it hurts sometimes, but it's true. So, if you're that DJ and you have been doing this for, you name the years, and you're like, I really do know what I'm doing, then you need to get out there and show your clients that. And how you do that, you do it in a few different ways. You got to show your experience to them. You got to, and not just tell them. And that's the thing that we as DJs get stuck up and what we get stuck on doing. And I used to do it too. So I'm not like, but when I was starting out, I'm like, oh yeah, well, I've done this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And the issue with that is we, as consumers, we brush over and we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. The Wedding Choice Awards for Wedding Wire just came out, right? And, like everybody got one. But to our clients, they don't know that everybody got one. So of course you should advertise it and tell them that, you have this. But, I put it on my Instagram story because, clients don't know. Clients don't know that everyone gets one. I think Wedding Wire said that like 5% of vendors get it. I'm like, that's such a joke. 5%, come on. But I don't even know. It seems more than 50% even. I don't know. I feel like everyone's posting them, but whatever. That's a different issue. You should not be relying on Wedding Wire, Wedding Wire best vendor of whatever 2017 badges to show your experience. I mean, you need to do it in other ways. And telling your clients is not the way. Telling them I've done 300 events is not the way to do it. And telling them that I've done X, Y, and Z is not the way to do it. You got to show them it. And that is where the money is. That is where they're like, oh, wow, really? Cool. Wow. Okay, cool. And they don't even know that you just persuaded them to book with you. And that's the crazy thing. If you come off as salesy I think that's what my next podcast is going to be, all about sales, because it is super, super important. It is so that's what it's going to be. Then my next podcast is going to be all about sales. So here's the thing. If you come across as salesy, people don't like you. I mean, let's be real. I think we've all dealt with a salesperson, and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be done with this salesperson, right? You can't do that. You got to show your experience in a different way. Again, it's all in my training program. Next week, I'll give you some more tips, so make sure you tune in. I'm gonna get you back for next week. We're gonna talk sales, but it's really, really important that you show your experience. So then let's flip it, right? That was the first DJ who really does know what he's doing. The second DJ is, yeah, TJ, I've been doing this for, 20 years, and I'm losing a bunch of business to a young kid who's coming in and taking all my work. What do I do? Here's the thing. Number one, are you actually experienced? Do you actually know what you're doing? In a good way, because here's the thing. You can have a lot of experience in weddings, but if you don't show that to the client, they don't really know. And you can say, yeah, I've done, 200 weddings over my career, but that's just a number. We don't really think about that. Like as a consumer, we just say, oh yeah, okay, cool, 200. Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, okay, move on. They don't think. This is what I do. Whenever I hear a big number, I sometimes have to count it out, and I'm like, okay, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 100, 147, 148, 149, because it gives you a real like thing that like, instead of just a 203 weddings, it's like, okay, 143, 144, 145. Like it actually spreads it out, and then it actually makes you like rationally think about it. Like, wow, that is a lot of weddings and a lot of events that you've done, right? But when you just hear the number, it's like, okay, whatever. You skim over it in your mind as a consumer. And so you need to find better ways to do it. And some of those things could be having the good badges. I'm not going to say that it's beneficial to have them, but that should not be the way that you develop business and you drive business and get leads. I mean, that is not, or sell clients. That's just a thing to have. But the other thing is, maybe you've been in this business for 20 years and you aren't keeping up with the business. You aren't to the level that you should be. Maybe that's what it is. And that's a pretty simple fix, really, all in all. I mean, you just got to stay up on it. And if you can't do it, find somebody who does and make a partnership with them. Here's the thing. I say this all the time, right? I'm young and I can go into a school and pitch the school and get the school. How do I get the weddings, right? Well, I got to pick the couples who like the young DJ. Now, the couples that want an experienced DJ, I got to go in and show my experience so I can book them too. As an old DJ though, your age helps you tremendously because you have many things. Professionalism, you have that professionalism down. I have to be extremely professional to even get the slightest bit of respect because, I come in young and clients just kind of overlook you. And so I have to try really hard to be professional, be real. You don't have to try. You just have the age on your side. And with that, you have experience. So you can say, yeah, I've been doing this 10 years. I know what I'm doing. And then it's like, what? 10 years? That's crazy, right? And then I come in, yeah, I've been doing it, 4 years now. It's not the same. So you need to use that to your advantage. Look, I'm going to make this my last point, and then I'm going to get out of here. So I read the book, Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Amazing book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, this book is unbelievable. But one of the things that it said was, it gave the example of a babysitter. And it said, look, think of like a family, and the mom is looking for a babysitter, right? And they narrowed it down to two people. There is babysitter A and babysitter B. Okay, babysitter A has, 4 years of experience and all good, and that babysitter lives 10 miles away. Okay, 4 years of experience, 10 miles away. Now, babysitter B has, maybe 2 months of experience, but that babysitter lives in your neighborhood. Who does that person choose? Now, we may think it's the one with years of experience, but it's not. They choose the one in your neighborhood. And it's kind of crazy. And there was like some study done with this, and they found that that's what most people choose, is the neighborhood. And so what it came out with is that people are more likely to go with a common connection and a like nearby kind of thing versus experience. So what does that mean for us? Well, I talk about it in my training program, and what I say is, this helped me so many times, and I didn't necessarily know it until I looked back after I heard this, and I looked back, I'm like, yep. I'm looking at all these different things, all these different times that it's helped me. And the one thing that it struck in my mind was, I was going in, it was one of my first weddings, right? I was going into this meeting and I didn't have a ton of, I didn't have wedding experience, right? I mean, you're starting out. How do you get wedding experience? And I never shadowed another DJ, so I didn't have that kind of aspect where I'm like, yeah, well, it's my third wedding, but really I've been doing this stuff, with these other DJs and I've been shadowing them. So I didn't have that. I had, well, it's my third wedding. So I'll give you a tip. I said, I have wedding experience. There we go. So after I did one wedding, I said, I have wedding experience. Not I've DJ'd many weddings, because I didn't. It was one. But I said, I have wedding experience. I have X, Y, and Z. Bam. They're like, okay, cool. So that's a good tip for you. But so I'm going into this meeting and I've done, maybe like 2 weddings. And I'm like, okay, cool. This wedding's going to be awesome. This meeting's going to be awesome. I'm going to kill it. It's going to be great. And so what I did, they said, that we were talking about the venue, and I recently DJ'd an event there. It was a Sweet 16, and I DJ'd it like a week before this meeting. And so what I did was, instead of build on my wedding experience, I built on, I was just in that venue. So I don't know how, I forget all the details of how it went, but basically what I did was I said, I was just at that venue last week. And what I really liked about it was X, Y, and Z. And I said, they placed me right by the dance floor, and it was awesome. It was super cool because, it was just like, it was good. And they placed a photo booth right next to the dance floor, and they placed the desserts on the other side. So it just kept all the energy right there, and it really, really helped. So if you need help planning your floor plan, let me know, and I can kind of, sketch out what they did, and then I can show you what. Okay. And I booked the wedding, because I showed my experience and I made a connection with them, rather than, hey, I mean, I'm sure I was going up against DJs who had 30, 50, 100 weddings under their belt, and I beat them out because I made the connection with them. And I know what I'm doing, but I made the connection with them and said, hey, look, I was just at that venue and this is what they did. So instead of breaking down like, yeah, well, it's my third wedding, so if you guys choose me, it's going to be my third one, okay? I built on, hey, I was just at that venue. And I'm not hiding the fact that that it was my third wedding. I'm just saying this is what I built on. And if you build yourself on, hey, I do all these Sweet 16s, well, they're like, yeah, but this is a wedding. This isn't a Sweet 16. So I built on I was just at that venue. And I really was. I was just at that venue, and this is what they did. And I liked it because of X, Y, and Z. And if you do this, I would recommend you doing this, whatever it is. Or say, hey, I was just at that venue and they did this. I didn't think that was great, because the events that I've done where they've done this instead, it really, really has helped. So I recommend, if you choose me or not, I recommend doing this. Well, they're like, oh wow, he knows what he's doing. We need him. Bam, close the deal. Good to go. So next time you have that, try that, because it really, really, truly does help. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I know you guys are busy. I know you guys have a lot going on, so I want to try and keep these podcasts short unless we have a guest, because I feel like the guest brings so much value that I want to push it up to an hour. But I know that you guys are busy. I know how valuable time is, and if you're listening to this in the car, go ahead, skip to the next podcast and listen to it, because these podcasts are unbelievable. No joke. I'm learning stuff, and I'm thinking, where was I a year, 2 years ago? And how could this podcast have benefited me? And so that's why I'm here, trying to help that DJ who is trying to get on the ground running. So next week I'm going to do sales. I've already decided it. That sales is going to be, and then the next one I want to do like kind of starting on a budget. How do you, when you're low on cash, how do you push through? Because trust me, I've been there. I know how it feels, and it sucks, but I'm going to help you push through. So thank you for checking out the Peak Period Podcast number 11. Check back next week, next Thursday. It's going to be dropping awesome content next week. It'll be unbelievable. I guarantee it. You will be happy. My name's Tanner James, DJ TJ Training, the Peak Period Podcast. Hit me on Instagram at DJ TJ Training, or my personal DJ TJ916. You can figure out my Snapchat from there. YouTube. I actually just got it down. So it's YouTube/Tanner James, TANNERJAMES. I have 2 first names. I know it's kind of funny. All my medical records are messed up, so, it's not that funny. But, Tanner James, you can find me on YouTube. There is a singer, but I'm not the singer. Trust me, I can't sing. So yeah, go ahead, jump on there and hit me if you have any questions. I reply to all the YouTube comments. I get back to DMs ASAP. hit me with your questions. I'd love to help you out. Again, djtjtraining.com. This was the Peak Period Podcast. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I look forward to rocking with you next week.